What's up, guys? Killer back from another Empires and Puzzles video, and today I want to go over Mythic Titans recap because I don't think I was available to do content or responsible to make content while this event was coming out. First, I didn't think the event was coming out because of the way the skins and costumes went down for the costume event. So I was like, Mythic Titans is probably a bust. They're not gonna release it. Everybody's like, it's coming to the end of December. It's coming to the end of December. And I was like, I'm not paying attention to it. But it did come to the end of December. And so this video is to kind of prepare you or possibly show you some more potential in your account or potential in heroes that you might have on the bench and that you might think aren't worth bringing to these events, just depending on the strategy you make. This video does not cover gameplay, so if you want to see some gameplay, go to Knit and Lion Roar. He did a video going over the Mythic Titan and going over the gameplay. He did part 1 and part 2 of it, and then also check out Empire and Books for like a mega hit. He hit, I think, 3 million and 3 flags. It really went pretty strong. So definitely check out those guys to see a strong strategy and also kind of going over the event. Not really gonna go over Ifrit. I feel like a lot of people already did. He's a Mythic Titan. Cool. He has some goons that come out that cover the weak point. Cool. He takes away your items. If he gets mad, he reduces the blue down shield, and he hits everybody with fire, but it doesn't burn you. Cool, 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 cool. That's him in a nutshell. What I am going to talk about is probably like team setups, items, and probably a little bit of strategy. If anybody was curious, my alliance, new alliance, Seek and Destroy 1.0, me and TC are in the same alliance with Oil Hauler, Juanita, Jen, and God, it's so many people over there that I know. Lady Catherine's over there too. We're all hanging out right now, having a good time. I think it's going to be a strong alliance for the future. But I was happy to help, come on board again. I've played with them before, but I wasn't in the same mind state I am now. Let's see what we got here. So for Seek and Destroy 1.0, we did finish 90th. Um, which I was really pleased for that for the first go around. I don't think if you're in an alliance that's competing not for top 100 or not for top 100 things, I don't think you should compete for this Mythic Titan event every month. I think it's something that you and your alliance council or leadership should go, hey guys, we'll compete on this every other month or every 3 months. I think every 3 months is probably more realistic to get a better score for the alliance as a whole. And then also to stack mats because we got all these Titan parts and who was doing anything with them prior before this came out and who's going to be doing anything with them before because we're going to have to build all these mats and stuff recently. Now, it was plenty of time to get your Hunter's Lodge capped off. The only thing I'm missing after today is an invisibility potion. We can go over that later. So we finished 90th with a score of 75 million. Great. Happy shout out to Seek and Destroy. Let's see. There it goes. My highest hit was a 763k hit. Uh, I jacked that hit up. Um, I probably could have smoked that score if I'd have known what I was doing or been better prepared with what I was doing. And that's why I didn't go over this video live because I would have messed up the hit. Got destroyed on feedback, whatever not. But I jacked this hit up. But Oil Hauler did happen to score 888k or something like that. So he was the highest hitting for our alliance. But I think what's more important than that is this next one, which is the overall damage. So overall damage, I did score almost 5 mil, but not quite. So 4.8 million. Was super strong about that. Now, this total score is what we're going to be focusing on right here because I think it's a couple of tricks that you guys can do for your own account to improve your total score. And I'll go over some of those teams. And I think we're going to start weakest to best. I think it's a couple, believe it or not, 3 stars that are possibly viable for this fight. Very few, but there are a couple 3 stars that make sense in the right organization and also based off where your roster's at. Now, currently I'm sitting at 58 heroes maxed, and I'm available to get to 62, but I'm waiting on a couple of heroes to come out, and then I'll probably pull and see if I grab a couple new guys. But there's ways that you can still unlock your account's potential. Not maybe get the best hit in the world, but probably more consistent hits. And that's kind of where I want to talk about um, a little bit with this video. And it's a couple things that definitely have to happen to make that viable. For instance, I'm gonna show you an image of one of my teams I used that was unorthodox. I recently watched a video TC just put out. This video won't come out until after the Hero of the Month for January, but it happens to be New Year's, so Happy New Year's Eve to everybody. Happy New Year's to everybody. But this is one of the unorthodox teams TC was telling you about. That, as you can see, I still scored a 462K on this team, and this is not blue team. This is a yellow team. Now clearly you can see they got the bonus up, so clearly that's why the score is a little bit higher. But I think these scores, that half a mil, 400K to a million scores or a million plus, are really viable 4 times. You have 4 chances at that, and I think that's the key to these Mythic Titans that we have to talk about. Um, it's a couple things that you need to do, and a couple things you probably need to think about if you're going to compete in this event. So we'll get into that, but just keep in mind that that's an unorthodox team. It's all yellows against a red Titan, and still scored a 462K. Now, some people might say, "Oh, that's trash. It's a terrible hit. I scored plus that over all my teams." Great, you play Titans better than me. Cool, but for the average person, 462 on an unorthodox yellow team going against a red Titan. This is going to be this is what we need to talk about. So let's get into my account and let's look up what I got going on with these with team setup and team makeup. First thing I want to do when we get into this is let's talk about some viable 3 stars. Then we're going to talk about viable 4 stars, and then we'll talk about viable 5 stars that make sense. Um, and people that come back. So the setup of your team, I believe, should go between wing and flank here should be shield down. I think between flank and tank should be defensive down, and between flank and tank should be attack buffer, crit buffer, attack buffer, in that order. And don't necessarily worry, either go tile damage after that or go attack damage after that. And be careful with the attack damage because we have items that actually counter the attack damage. And this last wing spot should be go tile buffer. Tile buffers include clearly Mickey, you've got Tarlac, you've got Gazelle, you have Wukong, and you have Ravnir. Those are the only 5 tile buffers. And what I mean by tile buffers, I mean like adding complete damage increase to the tile, not like Jai or not like Ratataskar. That's a little bit different. Those are kind of, I still consider them attack buffers, even though they do increase the damage of the tile. And I know people are gonna be like, "That's kind of fuzzy right there," but bear with me. We'll get over this and we'll talk about some of these people. Let's start with 3 stars that I think will possibly be viable for running this, because some people are running out of heroes when they're doing this, and some people don't quite have enough people um, to do these events. And so let's talk about that. There are 4 that come to mind for me. The first one that came to mind was this guy, Nordry. Nordry provides blue shield down against Ifrit, however you want to pronounce his name. Um, shield down is going to be awesome. So this is going to be really strong here. The next one that came to mind I thought was Gunner because of the blue and the defense down. Switch his skin over to his costume version. This is the way you want to run him for this event. So this is how I'd run him if you're lacking a defensive downer, which in blue is really hard to be lacking a defensive downer because there's so many. You got Grim and all this other stuff. But let's just say you don't have them, you're just starting out with. This guy might be viable here. All right. The third one, which is kind of like would be, I think I passed her. I personally like, no, I didn't pass her. She's a little bit lower. I personally like Malia right here. This is for the crit up. The only reason you take her is because of 36% crit up. And I'll go into a team to where you guys might see what I'm talking about. It might go over your head, it might not. But this is like a strategy. You got to realize you have 12 turns of this guy, and you need certain heroes. You need a deeper roster. So like you're talking about um, potentially 20 heroes that make sense going against Titans. All right, and the last person I thought to bring that might help you out would be this chick right here, and that's Brianna. Brianna, I think, will help you out, and only for her attack up. And now this might get countered based off her having, uh, based off what items you use. But this is the four. These are the 4 3 stars I would take. Um, let's go. There's quite a bit more 4 stars I would take. And before I go on to that, let's talk about one more thing. Let's talk about items because I think items also are very, 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 very important. And I think there's a sequence and order to the items you have to take. When talking about items, the first thing you guys need to do is know that you're going to need 60 of each of these things, and not necessarily that you're going to use all 60 of them, and not necessarily that you have to use all 60 of them. Not to say you have to use these items. These are items I use, and these are items that worked out pretty well for me, and I believe this strategy works well. Start off first with a Titan banner. 50% attack up, 50%, what is that, defense for 3 turns. This banner is the one that you have to worry about with like an attack upper because the 50% attack could possibly be stronger than your attack up from your heroes, like Brienne right there. But she's situational depending on what you do and don't have. She's an option for 3 star. Don't necessarily recommend her, but that's the option. Second item, I would go with the Scrolls of Alterations. Scrolls of Alterations does add tile to your tile sequence that is the same color of your team. This right here, this item right here is why you should run a mono team going against the Mythic Titans. I believe mono is the best strategy. If worst case scenario you have to change up for one, and the one should be your tile buffer like your Wu, your Ranveer, Mickey, Gazelle, and Tarlac. Those are the only ones I would run with a 14. Um, After this item, we got to go back to tornadoes, and after that item, we got to go with hurricanes. Hurricanes will be your last item. So these are the 4 items I would take. I personally, if I'm looking to compete and looking to make a huge score or have the best option with my 4 teams of when I have the available of that buff, I would have 60 of each of these items. That might seem extreme, might seem like a lot, but you guys have been competing for events like Fables and all that stuff, and people have thousands and 900s and axes out the yin yang, and they'll have super pots out the yin yang. So it's nothing to really say that that's a lot of items. If you really break it down, it's a lot more mats than some of these at the end of the day, but it's probably more doable often because of how few it is. 60 of each of these is really not a lot of them. But these are the items I would take in this order. Pop your Titan banner first. Either I would rock either Tornado or Hurricane. I haven't quite figured out which one I'd rock. I think the 100% mana Hurricane probably better to rock that first, so you can get your buffer going, so your tile's ready to go. Then probably Scroll of Alteration, Tornado, Hurricane as needed, and then go back and forth through there. One strategy was to run items out before you even got started touching the tile for Ifrin because of the fact that he takes away your items. That's an interesting strategy. I don't necessarily think it's the best, but I think it does give you a pretty consistent score, and it's one I did try a couple of times. So, and I had pretty good luck with that. So, not mad at that. I did better when I kind of played with the tile. That's when I scored that 700. So, these are the items I would use. So this is where you probably would want to start. Okay. Then you would construct your team. Constructing a team right now, as of right now in the game, this could change any minute or any day now, just depending on who they release and how they release them. Um, there are 3 colors in the game that I would recommend running for these Titans. For instance, Ifrit was red, so clearly blue would be the first one. But I believe everybody really only has one shot at, or excuse me, 3 flags at a blue team. Now you could have more or less of that depending on how your account works and how you play. But if you're playing mono and the strategy I'm kind of talking about, blue would be the first color. I'd run one team of blue. Green would be the second color. I'd run one team of green, and then I'd run two teams of yellow. Two teams of yellow because of the fact you have so many buffers in yellow, like Wukong, like Ranveer, and Guardian Gazelle. With that said, here's how here's the teams I'll probably bring going forward and in the future. So let's construct this blue team because clearly everybody's like, well, blue's clearly got to be the best. If I was constructing a blue team, Mickey would be my buffer. I would run my Frida here. I'd run Athena there, and here actually I would take personally. I would take Vela if I had her, and if I don't have Vela, I would run a Lassie. And the reason I say that is before the attack up for a Lassie, the 5% is going to stack with any buffer you put with that Titan banner or whatever, and the defense will help too. It'll stack with everybody. Now, I would take Vela priority because for blue, there's no other person in blue that adds crit. So crit, I think, is more important, and you're actually gaining another buff. You're gonna get the attack up from the banner. You're gonna get the defense up from the banner. Cool. But now I'm getting shield down, defensive down, a crit, a dot. But the crit is gonna make so much more damage when Mickey goes off with the buffed tile. Now, in this last spot here, I'm going with Jot, of course, in this first team because Jot's going to change up those tiles that go down from when Ifrit, I'm jacking his name up, whatever, is going to change them to negative damage. This is my first team. This is my priority team. This is the best team I have going forward. After Jot and Mickey get that debuff, I think this team is kind of wasted. They're trash. They're losing damage. So I don't think you're going to be able to make up that damage like you will that first 3 rounds. The first 3 rounds with this team is your best shot at making the most damage. That's what I would say. Next team I would take would probably be my green team because that is probably going to be one of the weaker teams to the damage, but based off the strategy that I'm using with dumping the items first, you're not getting hit for a long time anyway, and you might be able to protect against it because you have a lot of healing in green. Now, buffer, of course, we would go with, in my situation, I'm going with Tarlac for the buffer. I'm clearly going with Evelyn for the shield down. And believe it or not, because I don't have Frigg would be the best option here. But because I don't have Frigg, I'm actually going to take Buddy for defensive down green. And then, believe it or not, if I want to do this, I'm actually going to take somebody I normally wouldn't take. I'm actually going to take Guardian Chameleon because Guardian Chameleon actually gets a higher attack stat. He actually goes up to 550. What is it? It's 100. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, 54% attack, and he adds a 36% increased crit. Now, that would be ideal to have his crit, and I would add maybe Gregarion so the crit stayed on there. So when he goes off, Greg doesn't go off. You always keep a consistent crit, and you can kind of change it as you need it. So you have the attack up in the crit. Now, if you want to add the maximum crit, and Gregarion does do a nice 30% crit, so you keep crit going. But if you wanted to add to the crit, so this is just to increase the crit damage you could do, I would run, believe it or not, I'd run Telluria right here for the increased crit damage. Also adds to your healing, and you're worried about tiles anyway. This is probably going to give you the maximum damage of crit and tile as long as you can get the sequence to go off. Now, if you didn't, if I was to replace people on this team, who I would change out, I would definitely run Rat here, Ratatusker, to get the more tile damage up instead of Telluria or Greg. But if you don't have Telluria or if you don't have Rat, then go Telluria probably. If you don't have Chameleon and Telluria, go Greg, and just so on and so forth to add more damage up. You could also add Gators here for increased attack damage because he actually has an attack damage up for green. Replacement for Evelyn and replacement for Buddy. Buddy would be a Frigg replacement, and then Evelyn's replacement would clearly be a 4-star that I think everybody knows and probably readily available would be Omer. Run him for the shield down. So now you have a shield down and you have the buff up. So like if you didn't have Chameleon and you don't have Greg, whatever not, if you wanted another buff up, there goes another buff up with Gatorus. I might run Gators close to the Tarlac to keep that heal going, but this is going to add the attack up. His attack up is, and let me see where it is. It's 48, so it will negate the Titan banner, but you keep an attack up if you run out of the Titan banner or whatever. I think you guys see what I'm trying to do here. Greg, if you don't have Teleria or if you don't have Chameleon, Greg is kind of a really nice slot here because Greg will actually add 30% crit and that attack up in the defense borderline. So like now you're getting a crit when he goes off, you're getting an attack up a little bit and a defense up a little bit. So giving you your maximum damage. Now you might see these team powers fluctuate and go, and you say green against red. But if you guys are using all these tornadoes and hurricanes, you're not getting hit anyway because it pauses the Titan's damage. So that's one of the options. These are some of the options for green. Excuse me, not all the options, but some of them. And this is where your Brendan or whatever, I can't get her name in. Brianna might come in too to add more attack up. So that's a green team. Let's go over these yellow teams. So I personally would love to run Guardian Gazelle, but I do not have her. So Ranveer comes off the bench. Ranveer goes over here. He is going to stay there. He is my tile buffer for yellow. I do not happen to have. I'm waiting for Leo to come out. When Leo comes out, this team totally changes up. So Leo would actually work out right here, and Leo's going to be the new shield down. You might move him here. You might, like I said, you might change your team around a little bit. But now you got shield down with Leo. I personally like running White Rabbit instead of Vivica because he's faster and he has a hit. Not that the damage from these guys is what's really killing the Titan. It's tile. We're making our tile as effective as possible. After that, believe it or not, I actually would run Melosi. Run Melosi here, or actually put Melosi next to Ranveer. So now you got Ranveer, Melosi. Now, if you don't have somebody who's going to actually increase any attack, Drake will be great because now you have attack up for all your yellows, you have a defense up for all your yellows, you have a crit up for all your yellows, and you have a purple shield up for all your yellows. This is going to be a really, really strong team going across the board. Now, another option here that I chose, as you can saw in that video, I chose actually Odin. I think Drake might be a little better. He might blind. That might be a little better. But Odin for more mana, so these guys are going off faster and faster and faster and faster. But that's just an option. I think Drake probably actually does work better after looking at it. For me, for yellow. Now this is my first yellow team. This is my first choice, and I think this is the choice going forward for the best yellow team going forward for these Mythic Titans. Next, because you either have Gazelle or you have Wukong, clearly for me, Wukong goes here. So now you have, I gotta get down to him because Wu's down here a little bit. You got Wu that would go here to replace Leo because there's two shield downs there. You could go Guardian Jackal, and to replace White Rabbit because we have two defensive downs in yellow, you would go Costume Vivica. I believe Costume Vivica adds a little bit of survivability to the team, but you also add that defensive down, which is what you need. So run her costume version, add that real quick, and now you've got shield down, defensive down, and you got a buffer. Now we're getting rid of Drake and we're getting rid of Melosi. So who might you add? You got a little bit slower team, so you might run a yellow. You might run a yellow mana person. This is where maybe Odin would probably come in, and then I might run. Where's my girl at? I might run. Where is she at? I can't find her. She's coming. She's coming. There you go. Might run Malia right there for the added crit. So now this team has crit. It has Wukong's buff up. You got Jackal's down, defensive down, and you got Odin's attack up. And as they get low, they'll get the attack up from Odin, which is kind of interesting. But this is kind of some of the unique teams I would run if I ran out of heroes. This is probably one of my secondary teams I'm probably going to run for yellow. Um, if you don't have the Titan Breakers, if Woo's all you got, this is the only time I would say probably Woo is the most available hero you can get to be competitive. If you don't have Ranveer, Mickey, Tarlac, Tarlac's probably the second one you'd be able to get. Mickey's available in the oh, what is that thing? Tavern of Legends, and then you've got Guardian Gazelle, who comes around with Tao Talk every now and then. Guardian Gazelle is the hardest to probably get. Mickey comes at once a month. Tarlac comes once a month. Woo's available every day, and then Guardian Gazelle is available 3 times a year. So between the five, oh, Ranveer's there too. Ranveer's available once a month. So between those five, Woo is your most available attack buffer here. So you could run 4 teams with Woo in a 4-1. The problem with doing that is though, when you have a 4-1, is the scroll of alteration could possibly change things to yellow and not change things to blue, green, or yellow like you need if you're running out with Woo. Yellow would be fine, but like the blue and the green team will change the scroll of alteration will change the tile to Woo sometimes and sometimes, but versus if it's a mono, it always is going to change it to yellow. So you kind of control that. This is why I say you need to run 4 colors, and I think yellow is the easiest to run another set of yellow. If you happen to have Woo, Ranveer, and Gazelle, and they're all max, you can run 3 teams of yellow when the Titan becomes purple. I would just grab another Guardian Jackal or either another Leo, so that way you have the defense, the shield down for sure, and then the defense down. You're gonna have to find somebody for the yellow to replace, or just don't take a defensive down. Just run 3 teams of yellow. But that's kind of like what I'm saying. I think crit is one of the stats that has really been negated in this fight. Um, I hit the Titan for as hard as 15k per tile one time, and I believe that was a crit. I believe you can get higher than that. I believe with the blue team with crit and Jot, I believe you can get somewhere between 25 and a 30k hit on the tile, just depending on how much tile damage you're also making here. That's why I think Vela is probably more important than a sniper, because of the crit. A crit troop up at this point, I can see that being very strong. The the defense, the ninja heroes, I don't know that they'll make that much more difference. I do think that the crit hero on your highest tile damage hero around a team like this is going to make them better damage. So like if that higher tile damage hero gets the crit and they're the highest tile damage and they do the most damage, that's what you're trying to get. You're trying to get that hero to go off or that tile to go off as much as possible to make more power, more points. Believe we got the items right. The teams can definitely fluctuate. But your main 5 you're running around are Wu, Ranveer, um, Gazelle, definitely Tarlac and Mickey. Mickey being the strongest overall. Tarlac being a real close, I would say, third between, you know, Guardian Gazelle and Tarlac probably third. I would say in this event, I would say Ranveer is probably actually number 2 because of the misses. I think on a purple event he becomes number 1, and just like Mickey was number 1 on a red. Tarlac will probably be number 1 on a green because you have the extra damage from the tile being, or excuse me, for blue because you have the extra damage from the weakness from the Titan. Um, just something to think about, guys. Some people, green going against red is weak, but I guarantee you can make more damage than you will putting together a hodgepodge blue team your without your Titan attackers. One more thing I'm gonna say before I dip, because I didn't go over the shield downs for blue. So one other option for shield down for blue, because we did go over Nordry and went over Frida. The last option, in my opinion, would be, and you guys probably already guessed it and probably say you didn't say his name, but I got him. I got him. There he goes. It's Arthur. And Arthur will take the place of Nordry for me because I will bring him up to 70. I don't think I'm going to give him the 80 treatment, but 70, and Arthur is here to play. He also can stay around. He's average, but Arthur would be pretty good on this event for the shield down. Another 54% shield down for you guys. That would be a good blue. Um, until next time, this one's right at 30 minutes already. Didn't mean to rant and rave and talk this long, but kind of wanted to get all this science out of my head because, man, I've been talking about it since this thing came out. It's like, nah, this'll work, that'll work, this'll work, that'll work, this'll work. Um, Takeaways from this video, if you don't get anything else, that buffer Wukong is off your bench if you don't have more than four already. Different ones, and if you do have more than four different ones, but you only have one or you have less than four, Wu would make a great replacement for the other three teams you're working on. Just grab another one when you're pulling anyway, and just level them real quick before the next Mythic Titan. And now you have a buffer for each stage. Guardian Gazelle is a great grab. Ranveer, if he's on your bench, maybe you take him off the bench. I actually have two Ranveer, but I doubt I'll take Ranveer up to um, to 80. I might take him up to 70 to replace Wukong just to have a little bit more survivability. But guys, until the next one, Killa out. Shout out to Math Hatton, TC, Empire Books, and Nittany Lion Roar for all doing content on this. And everybody else who did too. This event, I like it. I think it's fast. I think it's great, and I love the rewards. And Seek and Destroy, grats to the top 100, and everybody else who did too. Kill out. Peace.